Japanese Americans on the West Coast and interns them for the duration of the war. Whole families are sent to isolated camps across the West, kept under guard in cramped conditions. To this day, many Japanese Americans are reluctant to talk about it, leaving a dark passage in America's past clouded in mystery. 60 years later, in a San Francisco archive, a student thinks he's found a set of paintings that, if authentic, will provide a first-hand account of this terrible time. Working in the archives of the National Japanese American Historical Society when he stumbled across an unlabeled box.
Then I looked inside and there were these little paintings. There were 10 of them. On the front it said GEO tomorrow, looked like a signature, and the paintings were of what seems like a camp.
And I lived in Chicago for 43 years. For the last 15 years I've been living in California, leaving our children behind to enjoy our retirement. And you asked a question of what my background was regarding internment.
Yeah.
And this happened in 1942. Sue, my wife, and I, we were from a different area of California, but we ended up in Chicago about 4 years later where we met and married and had our children. As far as we're concerned, I'm talking about internment now, camps, same thing.
So you were living with your parents at that time?
Yes, we were in California at the time, evacuated out of the West Coast in April of 1942. We went into a series of camps. I went to one in California, ended up in Idaho. We were able to leave the camp 1944, and I went to Ann Arbor, Michigan to go to high school, where I graduated in 1946. Uncle Sam says, please join me, so I went into the service in 46, served a year and a half in Japan, came back to Chicago.
Oh, you served in Japan?
Yes.
Was it after war?
Yes,
46. Occupation. I mean, they don't trust you as a citizen, but they trust you as an army man. They want to serve. Is it some kind of hypocrisy?
Well, this is another long story.
Yeah.
This is peacetime now. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, and there was no problem. But the others who were in doing the actual combat war, they had no serious problem of discrimination. But
yeah, in the combat they have a problem too.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that.
Okay.
And then got discharged, came to Chicago, and I met my wife. That's the long and short of it.
Ask you, what was the social environment before the internment camp? I mean, are they saying the Japanese are not reliable people?
Oh,
they are culturally. What were the sayings people around you? And you had a typical blue blood American citizen. If there's a blue blood American citizen, what were their reaction? Was it positive, against, or negative?
Well, it's kind of a passive attitude. You know, you don't trust the immigrants because they don't speak the language.
Yeah.
But offspring, yeah, went to school and we got along well with all of the population. But when the war started, being out on the West Coast, the government wasn't very comfortable with strange people living on the West Coast, so they evacuated us.
I remember one of the TV documentary, they says one of the general creates something and nobody believe it.
What?
They said the Japanese empire is going to invade and preparing for invasion of the West Coast. But in fact, nobody believed that story, but they still try to create the discrimination and the internment camps.
General DeWitt.
Yeah, okay. I forgot the name.
Yes.
You have a good memory.
And Hearst,
Well,
Randolph Hearst.
And the mass media
Mass media.
joined this.
right, Randolph Hearst
Yeah.
in particular. I have, well, this is off the,
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't repeat this. Okay, regarding visiting the Hearst Castle.
Oh, you went there?
Very close to me. I've yet to visit it.
Really?
And I can't get this deep hatred towards that man erased from my mind.
Yeah.
And I would always skirt around that castle, as beautiful as it's supposed to be. Yeah, I'm a churchman, and I feel sorry, shameful that I say this.
No, I mean, we are all human beings. Sometimes I feel the same. Because of the military junta, I was so full of the injustice. Sometimes I cannot keep inside. I mean, we are all human beings. I want to ask you, your father had business, isn't it? And did he lose his business? How you survived in financial terms?
Well, luckily, my father wasn't really involved with a whole lot of finance. He had a small grocery. This is off the.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't repeat this. Okay, regarding the store.
But they took it away,
Oh,
isn't
sure.
it?
Oh, yeah.
So they took everything, your house, your store, they took everything. Did they, at that time, did they compensate something for those
Well, about 30 years later, yes.
30 years?
About 30 years later. When was that compensation?
Yeah,
1970s, I believe.
yeah, they began.
All the living people that were evacuated were given $20,000 each.
Yeah,
That's nice in a way that they finally admitted they made a mistake. But people who have really lost monetarily, that was just a drop in a bucket. And for them, I felt sorry for them.
true, true. At least accepting their guilt is a partially important thing, do you know? And saying I am sorry, it's
Right.
which is an important step.
Yes.
And I was watching TV, I guess 5 or 6 years ago. I remember President Clinton. He gave a special medal to one of the Japanese immigrants, or citizens. Immigrants is a wrong term. Japanese American citizens is the proper term, because he didn't leave his home. And I remember exactly what Clinton said. This is the typical American behavior. You don't leave your home. You defend your home. And he didn't want to leave his home, and they took him to prison. And at the end, I guess he went to court, and he won the case. I forgot the name. I'm very sloppy with the names.
Well, I think there were about 3 people involved in
Yeah.
I really don't.
He gave the Medal of Freedom, Presidential Medal of Freedom.
I forgot who that person was, but there was a fellow by the name of Gordon Hirabayashi. And I forgot where he came from. And there were 2 others that would really stand on their foot and said the government is wrong. And they were incarcerated into camps in a prison for about 3 years. They finally were released, whether there were any admission of guilt by the government, other than what we got, that wasn't fair. They should have been knighted, really, for the stand that they took. But from that point on, I think the following groups of people, like the civil rights came into the pictures in the 60s, I think they learned something by it, that they could stand on their feet. And here we know the story of Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
And presently we're talking about the Muslim people that are enemy of same situation today. And I don't think they're going to be in the same fix we were.
Yeah, it's
You
not
just
going to
can't
be
do
easy.
that. You just can't take
Yeah,
the people out of
definitely.
big toy and says, no, you belong, you can't. You just cannot.
Now we have ACLU.
Oh,
And I remember, I'm card-carrying member of the
as
ACLU.
long as they're alive.
And do you remember the Father Bush, he put down, as if like a card-carrying McCarthy time, when they say card-carrying member of ACLU, as if like you are a Communist Party member. This is human rights organization, nothing related to communism. But they want to put it down because they want silence, and that's not It's not the basis of American democracy. The American democracy is shout for your rights, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was going to ask, at that time there were no NGOs, non-profit organizations, legal organizations who were able to defend your case. Nothing came.
Nothing.
Nothing. Internationally and nationally.
I think you're right. I
Wow.
don't think there were any.
That is
That's
not
how-
good. It's not
That's
good.
how strong our media was at
Wow.
that time.
Wow.
Yeah. People like Randolph Hearst, he ran this country like an iron fist.
Is it like a suppressing
absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
big articles
Yeah.
right on the front page, and that's not good. You don't dare that do it today.
True.
To say they have it, and you just don't.
Yeah.
Today is different than 50 years ago.
But do you know, there are some progress, but my feeling is there are some part of the media today is very sleepy too. I hope they are more outspoken, they are more principled on those, because few lessons of the Chinese Americans, Japanese Americans are full of lessons, and it shouldn't be repeated again now the Arabic Americans. What do you think about the condition of the Arabic Americans? They are experiencing similar things.
Yeah, but well, it's a concern, especially for them, and I don't blame them. How it's going to turn out, I think it's going to be in their favor. The CIA, those people will have to be stronger, more stringent. Expand that force to watch the individuals, so they don't take a whole group of people and crucify them. So in that sense, I think it'll be in their favor. Yeah.
That's rolling. Oh, Hard Mountain.